So welcome back to the PM Hot Salsa Show. I'm Marcos.
And I'm Paul.
And we're here to share a special guest today. Her name is Jenny Meyers, and she owns Earth Sugar. Yeah. Really excited to bring her on. Jenny, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you. I know I met you, it was about 3 years ago, I want to say. I met you at I think we started around the same time at the same market.
Yeah.
The Chandler Farmers Market.
The Chandler Farmers, yes, yeah. That was my first market.
Yeah.
I can't believe I started at Chandler. That's so funny. Yeah. I did not know what I was doing at all back then too. It's so
me either.
Like fresh out of my apartment, just like, here I am in Chandler.
I got stuff and things. Let's talk about it. Yeah, that's how I was. Yeah, no, it was really cool. You've got a very outgoing, strong personality, and you've got an amazing product. So I definitely want to share with the world what you've got here to share with us. So,
thank you.
But first, I want to start with, where are you from?
So I grew up in New Jersey, Harrington Park, New Jersey. It's Bergen County. Yeah. Jersey, all the way on the other side of the country. And I did not know anything about Arizona at all. Arizona literally never crossed my life, my brain, my threshold. I don't even know really. The universe is so crazy how I ended up here. But I grew up in New Jersey. My parents own a big pump and plumbing company. So they started that just in the tri-state area.
So entrepreneurs.
Yes, entrepreneurs. Oh, wow. And my grandparents owned the local meat market in town, my Oma and Opa.
I love that.
Yeah, it was really cool. I literally right around the corner from my house. So every day I'd go to school, and then I would walk over to the meat market, say hi to my grandparents, and my aunts and uncles worked in there too. My mom even worked there. She actually grew up above it. My grandparents, my mom, and my uncles lived above the meat market and then would work there every single day. So my mom worked, till when she was 9 and up, working at this meat market, cutting cold cuts and everything. So it's a really cool vibe. And I love Harrington Park. It's a really, really small town. Everyone knew each other. I went through a K through 8 school. Wow. So I was with the same people my whole life. And then when we all went to high school, it was the same local 4 towns. And then, so I knew nothing. I knew nothing outside of Bergen County, New Jersey. But I always was like, I'm going to get out of here. I just always had this very big worldly brain. And my parents tried their hardest to lock me in New Jersey. And any chance I got, I was like, I'm going to go to California. I'm going to apply for this event. I'm going to apply for this thing. I'm going to apply for this job. And they're like, can you just not? And I was like, no, I'm sorry, I'm gone.
That's too fun. Is that market still there today?
No, it went out. Man. It's so sad. It went out of business. I want to say 10 years ago. My grandfather passed away too 5 years ago. And it sucked because, what happened is just the grocery stores popped up in town, right? Like ShopRite, Whole Foods. And it kind of got to a point where the special thing of going to see your butcher or your, the local grocery store owner, that kind of started to dissipate. And it was so sad because I grew up with this mentality of know your own supply chain. Literally my grandfather, he actually came from this town called Kache, which was technically Yugoslavia, but during the war, it changed territories, and it got so bad that they actually pushed all the Kaches out of the region, and they all of them immigrated to Queens, New York. Oh, wow. I don't know why, but the entire village moved to Queens, New York. And there's a place there called Kache Hall, which I go to every year if someone dies or if there's a birthday or a Kache wedding, because we're technically they say we're a dying breed of people because, it's just this village is getting smaller and smaller. But that's where my grandfather learned how to be a true butcher and how to do whole animal, break down the whole animal, use every single part of it, nose to tail butchery. And it was just such a special thing. He grew vegetables outside of the garden. He'd sell those at the shop. He was oh my God, he can grow flowers like crazy, roses. And wow. It was so cool seeing that. And my aunt would make sausages by hand, and she would make meatballs, and they'd be fresh pressing patties. And they would torture me because they would get the big hogs in. Yeah. And my uncle would chase me around with the heads, and it was horrible. Literally turned me vegan for 8 years. I was my Uncle Joe, and he's still a character. He's actually the top butcher at Whole Foods. He works
wow.
Yeah, he's like the number one, his meat section of Whole Foods is the number one in the whole country.
Yeah.
Because he's so good at cutting of butchery, the practice and the craft. It just doesn't really exist anymore like they used to. So it was like so cool growing up in that and just being like, oh my God, we had such great quality meats and such great quality fruits and vegetables. And then when it closed, it was so sad because, you know, I was like, damn, like I was the butcher's granddaughter, you know, like I like really loved that. Like I just loved being like, that's my Oma and Opa. And now cool. When I find people from New Jersey, I'm like, did you go to the butcher shop? And they're like, oh, I love Joe and Trudy. I'm like, oh, those are my grandparents. And they're like, what? Wow. Like, that's killer. That's so cool. And that was like a really big thing in my life growing up, and having that was like awesome.
I feel like you've shared a lot of them already, and like that's a pretty stellar story. But if you can like pick one really memorable moment in that butcher shop, what would it be?
Oh my God, the biggest memory I have automatically that you say that is the smell of sawdust. Like that, sawdust. I mean, sawdust. It was all over the place, all over the ground and all over the basement, like where we stored everything. It was just all over the place. My brother and I would literally roll around on the ground of the butcher shop to get like sawdust all over us. It was disgusting. I just like the smell is immediately what I think of. But also the German candy, because, you know, they had like such a unique background. My Oma and Opa would source like really unique German candies and stuff that you literally couldn't find anywhere else. Wow. And that was really cool, of like just breaking those out at school and everyone being like, what is that? I'm like, this is German candy. Like, I don't even know the name. I don't know how to pronounce any of this stuff. But that was really, really cool, of just being able to have those bits of my culture now, which I'm trying to like go back and Google that culture, because it's, you know, there's not many people left even to talk about it. So it's just kind of interesting the more I learn about it. And now as an adult, the things that I love, I'm like, wow, this is so crazy. It was all rubbing off on me and I didn't even notice it, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. So from New Jersey, what's the correct way to say New Jersey?
New Jersey? So I say New Jersey. New Jersey is how everyone in my family talks. Like the New York side of my family is like, we're from New York, like we drink coffee, like, and they're intense. I grew up in, you know, it's so funny. We didn't really have much like I don't know, we had emotion in our family, but we're stone cold. Like we have it, but we don't show it. And we were all, like I told you before, like stone cold workaholics. Like my grandfather worked every single day until even past when he got lung cancer, past he had a heart attack. He's like, I'm going to work. We're like, you don't have to. You can chill. But he just, you know, he was like that. And then still my parents, they're still running their business. They have, I think, like 90 employees. My brother works there. Oh. They, like it's crazy. He's been commuting into New York for 30 years. Every day driving. I'm like, yo, that'll take years off your life driving through Manhattan seriously. Is some shit. And he'll drive to every borough of New York in one day.
Wow. Every time I go to New York, we gotta drive around. That's give you such anxiety. It's like,
it's crazy.
It's crazy. I can't believe people will spend most of their life doing that.
If you saw the way I drive around New York, you'd be so surprised. You're like, I don't know how this girl. So, like, I lived in LA. I lived in New York. No, I'm a boss. Like because you have to. There's no fear. Like you can't be like, oh my God, can you let me in? It's like, no, you are just.
I'm coming in.
I'm coming in. And that's why I have a Subaru, because I know I can bump that thing around, like my Subaru Legacy. Oh my gosh, there would be days where I park my car on the side of the road and I come out and be like, yeah, someone just sideswiped me and dipped.
That sounds like the East Coast.
Oh, man.
And they'll be like, fuck you. Like, why'd you park there? I'll be like, what? No, this is not for me.
That is hilarious.
I know all about that. Being from Philly, I know all about that.
I went to Penn State, you know.
Oh, you went to Penn State?
I did. I went to Penn State. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I went to Penn State because everyone in my college, from my high school, a lot of people went to Penn State, and no one in my family went off to college. And I was just like, oh, you know, I applied probably to 80 schools, and I wanted to go to California. And my parents were like, no, you're not going to California. I don't care how much you cry. You're not going to California. So I went to Penn State, but then I applied to the Penn State Hollywood program and got in and ended up going to California anyway. And they were like, you suck. shocked. Like, why do you do this?
He's one determined woman right here.
Oh yeah, like for sure. When I set my mind on something, it's gonna happen. And so I have to be careful with what I set my mind to, because I will become obsessed with that goal and I will achieve it.
So let me ask you this. So what's one thing in the East Coast you miss?
Honestly, trees. Like
they have those. I heard
they do. They have them here, but like my street and just specifically my neighborhood is so green. Mm-hmm. It's so green. Everyone's got grass and space, and it's just a bit more quiet. And the seasons, like I love the fall. I do love like stuff like that. But then on the flip side, like the people wise, I'm a very straight shooter. I'm very straight up, and like I'm like, I'll tell you if something's good. I'll tell you if something's bad. Like I'm not gonna like make things up to make myself look better, which I love. Like New Jersey mentality is you could be talking to someone and be like, yeah, this is stupid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you saying? No, this is bad. And I'm like, yes, I love this. But like my experience in California, it was so passive. Even with my boss, like I would do something and she would be like, thanks. And I'd walk away and I'd be like, I feel like she hated that. And she wouldn't tell me, Oh, no. And even just with the friendship wise, like it was a bit more passive. Yeah. I mean, nowadays everyone just says what they think on Instagram, but just like in person wise, everyone's like loose cannon on Instagram, but just in person, I really love just how intense and straight up everyone is. Like even like my husband, like his family, both of us were so straight up, straightforward, so determined and so sure of all of our beliefs, like regardless if they're right or not, like, we'll tell you. And I think that's really cool. And I think that energy is why New York is the way that it is and why it's so electric. Like you're walking through the streets and you're like, wait, can I also be a millionaire? Like, it's just because everyone's like moving a little too quickly. They look like they're talking important stuff on their phone. They're very sure of themselves. And I think that's all that it is. Like, when you start a business, like if you can just push that confidence out there, you can move it along.
No, you honestly right about that. That's what I noticed the difference, like from living in all different kinds of places. Like when people from the East Coast, they'll tell you exactly. I mean, you get your feelings hurt. That's for sure. And they'll tell you your ideal sucks. It's not good. Look, reinvent the wheel. So that's the part I do like, the honesty.
Yeah, it is very true about getting your feelings hurt. If you talk to anyone that went to my high school, I think we all have collective trauma of just, oh my gosh. We all do. But, it's so true. Like people have said everything to me. Like, so when people come at me about my product, I'm like, have a nice day. Like, they're like, why is she so bubbly? I can't break her. And I'm like, it's just, you get to this point where you start to just develop like this Ninja Turtle shell. And you're like, I'm going to move forward no matter what, because that's the only option. And like, you can yell at me, but I'm just going to
keep going.
Wish you well, Yeah,
100%. Yeah. That's a good segue. I do want to get to the earth sugar stuff, but before we do that, I want to talk about like, you're obviously very savvy in business. I've seen you in person in action, and I've seen, on social media, all the things that you do. And then I go to stores that I'm in and your stuff's already there. I'm like, this girl is on it. Like everywhere I go, I see earth sugar everywhere. I'm like, she beat me, which is good. Like, I'm like,
without a distributor.
Yeah. Without a distributor, like she's out there. So I'm like, wow, really impressed. So I know we kind of joked at the beginning about you like showing up and not knowing what you're doing, but I highly doubt you didn't know anything. So leading up to Earth Sugar, are there any businesses or organizations or things, jobs that you had that maybe helped you gain certain skill sets to get you to where you're at now? Because this is impressive. Yeah,
I'm a career mutt. Like I came out of college and I went to, I studied PR because I've never been classically good at anything besides for talking out of my ass and writing. Like I'm like, your girl can sell. I don't do math. I don't do science. Like I can figure it out. But like as things that just come naturally to me, it's just been like interacting with people. It's been making people happy, like bringing energy to a room. And so I was like, PR sounds cool. Like I could just, try this out. And I ended up getting my first job at CBS television as a PR intern, and then got a job at IDPR as an executive assistant, and was kind of like a junior publicist. And I was launching campaigns for Alicia Keys, Hans Zimmer, Steve Martin, Kaleo, Musically, which is now TikTok. I literally launched TikTok
What?
thinking,
Wow.
yeah, like I had the basic beta app of Musical.ly on my phone. Like I was one of the first to download it with my boss. And I remember she was like, can you go home and play on this thing? And I'm playing with it. I'm like, this is so stupid. This is never going to work. And I just, haha.
Yeah.
Still haven't learned TikTok. But it's funny. I was writing a lot of press releases at the time for all that stuff. And I was just like, wow, I honestly, I was so great at it. I was like, I am so good at writing professionally and writing awesome emails and doing tour press. And it just kind of like, I understood that fast pace of like, we got this thing, we're going to push it out to the world. And like, there was a time where I had memorized every single music reporter in the whole country. Like I like literally knew them by first name, like what trade they have. Like, so like I was doing like 2,000 emails a day. It was nuts. And, that just became really bad for me in terms of workaholicisms and my gut health was just a mess. And I just ended up losing literally like 30 pounds. It was like 98 pounds out there. Like, wow. And my mom came out one weekend to visit me and she was like, yeah, no, you're coming home. Like, this is not, So I ended up leaving that and I went back to New Jersey and I was really depressed because I was like, I went to Hollywood. I was like working at the Grammys. I was like Jay-Z's press like album releases like on the red carpet. I like walked Shaquille O'Neal down the red carpet. I was like, this is crazy. Yeah. And then, I got sick and I couldn't handle it. And I ended up in New Jersey and I felt like a total failure and I was really upset about it. So I was like, I know I can get a fantastic job, but let me just like think about what I want to do because I kind of got to the realization that I was going to be fantastic at anything that I did. Cause I like, I was like, oh, I want to become a real estate agent. Got my license in a month. And then I was like, don't want to do that. Like just wanted to know I could do it. Yeah. Like I just, sometimes I get these things and I'm like, I just want to know if I can do it. And so I got my real estate, didn't want to do that, then became a personal trainer. And I end up at this gym in Bergen County, New Jersey. It's called Body Chemistry. And I go there at the time and there's like 12 hot guys working there, like just only men and all these female clients, like all these moms and stuff. And I ended up getting the job as a trainer. And I was just kind of like, that was my first test of like, okay, you're in this place now. You have zero purpose. Like I was making commission money. So I was like, I need to literally like figure this out. And that was when I first realized that I was really good at like assessing, okay, like what's the need here? I'm seeing 12 men. I'm seeing 800 moms. I'm seeing all these men telling these girls to eat whey protein, do squat, like, like
do guy stuff.
Yeah, guy stuff. And you're talking to like 50 plus moms who are just looking to feel good and to change their lives and to come here and feel positive and feel good about themselves. So I was like, well, I'm going to teach Pilates. I'm going to bring my mom in here every day at 6 a.m. during the hottest time of this gym. I'm going to do Pilates on her for 2 hours. And within a couple of weeks, I had like clients booked out. Like I was literally booked out. Like I was doing sessions from 5 a.m., 30-minute sessions from 5 a.m., 5:30, 6:30, all the way up to noon. I'd work out and then I'd train again. And I did that for like 9 months and I was shredded, but I was like exhausted because I was like, and after that, I just realized like, oh God, so many things that I'm just like going all over the place, but like that was so important. Like it really informed Earth Sugar for me during that time because I think the fitness industry is so interesting. It could be fantastic in a lot of ways, but it can also be kind of, I don't want to say evil, but it can be a little weird for people who are, have issues with eating issues or like body image issues. And I just don't think that like fitness always relates to health or muscles or always health or weight loss. Like, drastic weight loss always equates to health. And I realized like, we were there helping these women lose 50, 60. I think a person lost 110 pounds with me. I think that was like, and like being with someone from like that point of like, we were at different spaces, right? Like I'm 90 pounds, she's overweight. We're both kind of having the same problems. And I realized I'm like, well, what are these issues? Because we're both kind of having the same issue, but like, we're in here doing, we're talking about whey protein and squats, but we're not getting to the core problem. I'm underweight, you're overweight. We both are scared of food. We both are scared of fitness. We're both in here trying to figure something out. And like, I just like kind of like started to approach all this with compassion, which I think is why eventually I left that job and they didn't like me anymore because I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I just started learning more about humans. And I'm like, what? I started asking this woman, I'm like, what's going on? Like, how's your home life? Like, like, how's your husband? Like, how's, and then when you start to talk to people and you really genuinely get to the bottom of it, you start to understand like health to everyone it's so individual. It's so impossible to put a blanket on fitness and what that means to somebody.
Yeah.
And I just felt like at that point, I'm like, wow, this isn't working. Like I just, I can't be here. I can't sell a cookie cutter program over and over again because it's not right. And I left that job. And after that, I went and I sold meat, which was funny. You did
tell me that before. That's hilarious.
And then I was like, I sell meat, which is like, and I was vegan at the time. I'm just like a walking contradiction. It's hysterical. Like, I'm just going to try this. But it was so funny. I became an inside sales supervisor at this meat company. And I got there and I was like, it was so cool. I'm actually really excited that I worked there because I was someone who, was playing with this vegan diet. And I'm a big believer of like, you can't talk shit about things unless you literally go and you see them. Yeah. And through that job, I was able to go to like fantastic farms where I was meeting like really great, like just people doing the right thing, like my grandfather, and just like really kind of going back into that, like being a kid again was cool to like to meet with butchers and chefs. And like, that's where I started seeing this company, Fossil Farms, is so cool. It was founded by these brothers. And kind of like what we do, like grassroots, they had a farm, they had like 2 ostriches, and they were like, we're going to sell ostrich meat to restaurants. And like, who thinks of those things? And that's why I loved that guy, Lance. I was like, oh man, I want to work for him because that's something that I would do. I would see an ostrich and be like, let's scale it. Like,
let's scale this ostrich.
Let's scale this shit, So it was really cool seeing that he grew $1 million company, grassroots. He does his own distribution. He has all of his warehouse in-house, all the meats in a big freezer there. And he has inside sales reps, outside sales reps, and they delivered in New York. And, they would have these routes and stuff. And I was like, damn, this is awesome, and I'm cold calling chefs all day. They're like, what meat do you recommend? And I'm like, hold. Then like, hey Ben, like what's a strip loin? Like I didn't even know. Like I was literally like in charge of this meat department. And I was like literally trying to teach myself like what a ribeye was. Like I would have to go to the back and be like, what is this? Like for some reason, like
hey, Marcos, what's a ribeye?
Yeah, like because we were selling bison, elk, python, antelope, like
python.
We were selling like crazy stuff. Like I've never been served python, but I was selling it, so I was like, let me go figure this out. Like
Yikes.
I was about to ask you what it tastes like.
Yeah, like I don't know. I couldn't do that, but I tried basically everything else, like kangaroo, like a little different stuff, and it was cool.
What's your favorite like exotic meat?
So my favorite, I love wild game, like elk. I love bison.
Elk is good.
I love elk.
Bison's
I love,
good.
honestly, like, yeah, I love venison. Well, venison and elk are kind of the same thing, but I really like just like a venison burger. I like lean. I love like wild game and hunting. It's so great, like for the environment, and also like kangaroo, for example, like in Australia, like if you don't harvest kangaroos, they will just mass repopulate and they will literally take over the continent.
Oh,
and they only slaughter 2 species of kangaroos. I think there's like I might be wrong, but there's like I think 100 or like quite a bit of different species, but they only allow 2 of them to be slaughtered. But it's 99% protein. It's super lean, very gamey. But it's just interesting to learn about all that stuff, because nowadays it's like chicken and meat are just so, I don't even really like chicken. It's just so mass produced.
Yeah.
So, you have to pay a little bit more for that kind of meat, but it's like to come off of a vegan diet and to eat meat again was like a Super Mario, like like I was like, yo, it was like I can do a backflip. This is crazy.
I know, to go from vegan to kangaroo, that's
like one side of the other.
Well, I mean, I've done them all. Like I've done all the diets. I've tried all the different lifestyles, because you go on the internet and then you got a guy like Paul Saladino, who's the carnivore MD, and he's telling you only eat meat, and then you go to the celery juice guy and he's like, be a vegan, and like both of these people are healthy people, and people have been positively impacted from them. So it's like, and I did all the different diets and I felt great every time. So I'm like, how could it be that everything works, but all that, I think like that last key honestly is like your mental fitness and being like feeling like you're at home in something, like in your routine or in your diet, I also think your culture really plays a part in that. Like whenever I turn away from my culture, like when I turned away from meat or all the things I used to eat growing up that made me feel good, like now that I eat those again, I'm like, I feel great. And like, this just feels right. And I think when you're constantly doing something and your body's like not feeling right with it, like that's just a red flag itself, that, you know?
So that journey that you on, when you got, you left California, did you discover that at the time when you like left Scout, when you said you were kind of unhappy after you left California with the job? Is that the time where you learned that and you went through that whole situation going from the gym? Did you learn it between then and there?
Yeah. So okay. So I've had really bad IBS my whole life. Like when I turned 7, my stomach just like shut down. It was just like, this girl can't eat anything.
Oh, man.
Like I can never go to the bathroom. I was always bloated. I was always in chronic pain, just basically from like 7 up until the worst was post-college, because I was like basically doing it in middle school and high school. Like I was trying to clean up my diet, like not eat dairy. Like I was scraping things off, like scraping cheese off pizza. Then when I got to high school, I got a nutritionist and she was like, you can't eat gluten, you can't eat soy, you can't eat dairy.
Oh, wow.
And this was like, I don't even know, 2010 or something like that. So like, no one knew what that was, you know, like everybody was just kind of like, what's gluten-free? And there was one other girl in my grade who had celiac disease. And so it was like the two of us, but no one like believed me. Like they thought I was doing it for, I don't even know, like I just got like kind of picked on for it. So I just really tried to be a normal kid. Like, you know, everyone was eating McDonald's, I would eat McDonald's, go home, be in chronic pain. Or if everyone's drinking beer, I tried to drink a beer. I threw up in the back of my mom's car.
Oh,
She'll never let me live that down. But it's like, you know, like I tried. And then when I got to college, it just like, you know, you're at Penn State, everyone's drinking, you're eating out, you know, I'm trying to go on dates and be a normal kid. I'm just getting like wrecked all the time.
Oh, no.
Just wrecked. It was just like, oh my God. Like when I got back from Puerto Vallarta from Mexico from spring break, I was in the hospital for like a week and a half.
No
just
way.
being like, guy, I have not gone to the bathroom for like 45 days. Like it was
no.
yo, like I'm talking, it's like crazy. Like my body just does not work. And so when I got to LA, because I was so stressed out and I was so sick, I was so skinny that I was really like, that's when I got into like, okay, I'm going to assess my diet. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get a naturopath. And I was journaling everything I was eating. I was journaling, every morsel of food, the time of day I was eating it. It got so crazy. It was so excessive that I was just like, it was almost all consuming. It was really a very crazy time in my life. And, you know, you meet different doctors and they tell you different things. So one guy's like, oh, we don't want you to eat meat. We want you to be a vegan. Take out all the meat. So at this point, and then they're like, follow the low FODMAP diet and then don't eat meat. So, you know, I have a list of 70 foods. So all my meals are going off this diet. Then I'm still feeling like crap. So the doctor's like, okay, well then also take out these 15 items. So now I have a smaller list of food.
Oh, no.
Still feeling like crap. So then he goes, well, how about we put you on this? So this for 1 month, I would steam zucchini, parsley, and string beans, blend it with an immersion blender, and then drink that at work.
Ooh,
and
how was that?
It was, you know, at that point, if you told me to eat dog poop every day, I would have done it. Like I was like drinking that thing. And crazy. It was literally on liquid diet for like 2 months, still feeling like crap. And at that point, I think it's because I was just so sick that like, of course I feel like crap, you're starving, you know?
Yeah.
But the naturopaths are like, well, you need more pills. So now, you know, I'm on like, I have like 14 vitamins, I'm drinking zucchini soup. And then, and it's crazy, right? And then go to this other doctor and he's like, I know what you need. It's this thing called the elemental diet, which was a 30-day liquid diet where all you essentially drink is this like nutrition powder that's like 100 calories per serving. And he was like, you need to drink this, you know, try to do it for a month. So determined Jenny did that shit for a whole month, 30 days. I did not drink any food. I did not eat any food. I drank this elemental drink. I basically hallucinated because I was just like,
No
I
way.
mean, it was crazy. I literally felt like I was just dosing mushrooms because I was so fasted.
Yeah.
And I have videos of me at that time and writing about it. And I'm just look back, I'm like, holy shit, like what doctor allows a 106 pound girl to go on a 30-day liquid diet to cure my gut health? And, you know, it's just so interesting because I look back at the cost of all that stuff and I'm like, well, maybe that's why they wanted me to do it. You know, I'm paying thousands of dollars a month for pills and for shakes and for all this stuff. And like after that diet, I was just like, fuck this, like, fuck this. Like I was so angry because, you know, I went to 20 specialists, right? Like I was going to naturopaths, I was going to personal trainers, and nobody said, hey, are you okay? Like no one was like, maybe you're just really thin and you need to bring food back into your diet. Like no one told me that. It was, but from the time I saw that first nutritionist when I was 12, it was just eliminate, take out. Then I had 3 foods left and I was so fucked up. I was so scared to eat anything. Like it was like so terrifying. And this is kind of when at the point where I'm at the gym and I'm eating like, you know, chicken, rice cakes and almond butter. And that's it, you know, and then most of the time I was pureeing my chicken. Like I wasn't even eating it, dude. I was literally blending chicken and bone broth into a puree and spoon feeding it. Like, you know, because my stomach was just such a wreck. And
Did it taste good?
To me, I don't even care. It's so funny. I'm not even food. I've eat, what is it? I eat to live. Like for so long I did that where food doesn't, it's so funny. Like I love earth sugar, but food doesn't do it to me. Like I'm not a foodie like that because I've just had such a unique journey with it. And it's been so scary. Like at one point, like if you took me to a buffet and I didn't know what I could eat, it'd be like putting me in a cage full of snakes. Like I was just like, yo, it's insane. I would have mental breakdowns when I like go out on date, panic attack. Like, so I was just like, all right, we're not going to do that. And I just realized, like, first of all, I'm like, I can't be a personal trainer if I'm like this. This is not right? But, you know, can't do that. And then, you know, it's just like those things. So I pulled away from that a bit and really just tried to get myself into a point of health. And during this time, I ended up meeting somebody through a work event, and he was a part owner of this vegan yogurt company in Brooklyn, New York. And I basically was, as per usual, I was just talking about myself and I was like, I'm Jenny and I love snacks and I have gut problems and blah, blah, blah. And like just telling everyone that I'm constipated like all the time. And it's like how I roll. And so he was just like, oh, you know, well, I work for this vegan yogurt company and I don't know if you'd be interested, but we're looking to hire a director of research and development, like basically someone who designs healthy organic snacks made for people like you who have autoimmune gut health issues, you know, just kind of like creating stuff at home. And I was like, this is so cool because for me, I wasn't into eating the food, but I was into creating it and looking at it and writing about it. And like, it was like an art project for me, you know? So I was like, I'd walk through the grocery store and I just look at different brands and I take pictures of them. And I would just like, I don't know, I like fell in love with almost the idea of creating my own healthy brand. And it just became like this like saving grace for me of like, one day when I get healthy, I'm going to create like the brightest, happiest, most colorful gluten-free snack ever. And no one's going to even know that I went through all this shit. They're just going to think that I shot out of a cannon and created this beautiful brand. And like, you know, it had all this behind it. So I ended up getting that job, which was crazy because I was so not qualified again for it. Like, you know, I'm like, I'm selling meat and now I'm designing vegan yogurt. You know, it's like, what?
The pendulum just swings back and forth.
Like I never made yogurt in my life before. But again, I'm like, I can figure this out. Like I know this shit. And that was really cool because it was the first time in my life where I was like, oh, this is what I'm good at. Like, you know, meeting with the marketing team, seeing what people are into, creating a snack from scratch, you know, taking out fake flavorings, adding in real fruit, using unique ingredients that people wouldn't commonly use because I just literally did not have any education. Like I'm not a chef. I'm not a food scientist. Like, honestly, I think that has been my best thing is like not knowing what I'm doing because you're like, let's try it. Like, you know, like, I don't know, like, let's try it. And like that job was so cool because I was just, you know, I was shipping probably 50 to 60 boxes a day out of the lab of yogurt of, you know, to sample, like sampling people. And I was just creating nut milks and different kind of lines. And it was like so awesome. But then COVID hit New York. And it was kind of one of those things where, I don't know, just got this download. Like, when you, again, it's the universe talking to me. I was like sitting in my apartment. My apartment was smaller than this table, like staring out the window.
In New York.
I'm like alone. I'm like paying $4,000 for this
Telephone
apartment.
booth.
I'm like, what? Yeah. I'm like, what is going on? This is not right. And we were on full lockdown.
Oh, man.
Couldn't go anywhere. And I just like had this feeling where I'm just like, I had a lot of alone time. And so I'm like sitting in there and I'm like, everything I've done has to make sense. Like I went through all this pain. I worked as a personal trainer to like build this compassion. I worked at this meat company because he basically taught me what to do. And like, like that, I don't think I could have started this without working for these people. I think I love working for independent, like small businesses, because you really get in there and you're like, this is what's up,
Yeah.
And all of it just came together. And I was just like, I gotta get out of here. And, so I quit my job. And I have no problem with quitting jobs. I'll tell you, I've quit a lot of jobs.
I'm out.
And everyone's like, how do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. Like, you get another job. Like, you can do it. So I quit that job and my parents were like, come home to New Jersey. And I'm like, nah. So booked a one-way ticket to Arizona. Like literally.
Why Arizona? Like what? Did you just like close your eyes and poke at the map or like?
Low-key kind of. So I knew I had lived in LA a bit. I knew I didn't want to go as far. I didn't want to go back to LA. I was like, no. So I didn't want to go to California. But I was like, Colorado looks cool. Arizona looks cool. Maybe Utah. I was like, I don't know. Like just want to be on the West. And so I posted on Instagram. I was like, hey guys, like I'm going to go on a hot girl summer. I'm going to like fly over to Colorado, I was just going to rent a car and just drive like, no, like whatever. And, my husband now, Joey, he slid into my DMs and I didn't know, like me and Joey actually went to high school together, but we never met in high school.
Oh, interesting.
Which was crazy. And he was living out here in Scottsdale for like 8 years. And he just was like, hey, I'm Joey. We went to high school together. I've been living out in Arizona for 8 years and I've been following you and you like yoga and fitness and food and all this stuff. And you should come to Arizona first. I think you really like it. So I was like, okay, I'll be there on Monday. Like, what should I do? Like, I, just booked the flight. And then he offered to pick me up from the airport. He's like, oh, do you need a ride from the airport? And, literally the second we met, we fell in love. It was like, what?
Wow.
Like it took me flying to Arizona to meet someone who grew up 0.3 miles from my house, which is just insane.
Wow. That's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it was cool. So we just started. I landed here. He was like, go to Matt's Big Breakfast, go to Camelback, go to this spot. And I just, for a whole month, I literally went to every part of Arizona. I drove to Tucson by myself. I was up in the Grand Canyon. We went to like Sedona, went to Flagstaff. I probably hiked 130 miles by myself.
Wow.
And Joey was like, that's why I fell in love with you, because you're crazy. He's like, I've never met a girl who did anything like that.
Yeah.
And then one day he's like, oh, well, I want to take you to the Old Town Farmers Market. And I'm like walking through Old Town and I'm just like, what is this? Because, New York has farmers markets, but they're not approachable in terms of like, oh, I can see myself getting a spot here because it's just like New York, right? Like you need so much money to even just exist.
You got to wait till somebody die to get a spot.
Yeah, literally. And so I'm walking around Old Town. I'm just seeing what's going on. I'm seeing some of these posters and I'm like, Joey, like I could do that. Like I can make a dope poster. Like I could do this. So I go up to the market manager and I'm like, hi, I'm Jenny. I have an idea. Can I get a booth here? Like I hadn't even come up with the name Earth Sugar yet. Like I just had this concept that I wanted to do. And she was like, yeah, like here's this application, whatever. And I got this application and I go home and I'm like, so I'm moving to Arizona now. So I'm like, this is it. Like, this is all I needed. Like, I was like, this is what I needed. So I got an apartment literally the next day in Joey's complex. I flew back to New York, gave away all my stuff for free. I was like, take it. It's fucking toxic and I don't want it. Bye. I'm not taking anything from New York with me to my new life in Arizona. I was like, take it. And Joey and I road tripped for 12 days back from New Jersey all the way to Arizona. He moved me in and we stopped at all these cool places. And the second I moved into my apartment, Joey was like, oh, so we're going to hang out. I'm like, no, honey, this is a commercial kitchen now. Get out. I'm like, he would want to like sit in there to take meetings, and I literally banished him to my upstairs closet. I'm like, you're not allowed to breathe downstairs. Like, we're doing R&D. And for 2 months, I was in that apartment. I did not leave my apartment. And I had all my journals from the last like 8 years of my life and just ideas I had created and concepts and colors. And I literally just designed everything from scratch out of my apartment. And I got to this point where I was like getting a little crazy because, you know, you come up with an idea and you're like, how do I launch or blah, blah. And so one day I'm just like feeling ballsy, which is usually when I do things, is whenever I just get like that, you know, whenever you just get a little confident, like today's the day I post. So I'm like, hey guys, this is Jenny, like on Facebook. I'm like, I finally launched this idea. I know you guys have seen me with my crazy journey with my stomach and fitness and me not knowing what job I'm ever going to have. But like, I think I've landed on something here. And, you know, it's called Earth Sugar. My concept is to do like healthy, like delicious snacks made from real fruits, encouraging people to like, you know, just eat stuff that makes them feel good and like be one with nature. And if you want like a test package of my potential products, like, you know, Venmo me $20. And I had almost like 100 people Venmo me.
Wow.
And I was like, I had no products. Like I literally did not have a product.
Yeah.
Like I had a logo and like my big mouth. So,
You're like, okay.
I was like, Joey, yo. So I at the time I'd flown back to New Jersey because most of my people out there wanted them, and I was in Arizona, so I flew back over there, commandeered my mom's kitchen. I'm like, get out of here. Like, did some R&D, was able to deliver samples over New Jersey, and then came back here, and then just like delivered to some friends. But again, like I didn't know anybody here. Like I didn't know anybody. I didn't know what Scottsdale looked like. I thought Arizona was desert. I still, you know, don't really have a big group of, well, I do from the farmers market, but like close friends. Like, you know, I wasn't here from a kid, so I didn't really have any points of reference. So like I go home, I deliver this to like my VIP friends, and it was this big like this big cashew bark, which is my classic crunch to the T, that formula, threw that in the blender, first shot, that came out, and I was like, we're going to sell that. Item number 1. And then item number 2 was like a Rice Krispie treat, and the other one was like a protein ball. And everybody emailed me and they were like, I don't know what that slab was, but like, sell that. So I was like, okay, we got a slab. And the slab's name was our cookie dough bark, cookie dough super bark, which I used to make in, I would, you know, those like tailgating trays, those tin trays. Mm-hmm. I would literally like blend it, throw it in the tray, and then smack it down with my hands, and then cut it into pieces, Ziploc it, like vacuum seal it in a 1 pound brick, and then ship that. Like,
oh, wow.
And people would get this thing and they're like, I don't know what to do with this. Like just a brick of...
Just eat it.
I'm like, just eat it. Yeah. And then people started thinking Super Bark was dog food, because then it'd come in this brick and they were like, wait, is this for my dog? I'm like, shit.
You are a good saleswoman if you got people buying stuff and they're like, I don't even know what to do with it. I just bought it.
Like, this is hysterical. Like I literally, like all these people, they're like, no, Jenny. But like those people are still my best customers.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I have like 15 customers who purchased that first piece of slab and are still buying bars. And they were like, we just want to support you. Like, we know you're going to figure it out. Like, we know this sucks, but like, you know, we're going to help you. And so then, like, at this point, I finally get into the farmers markets because, you know, it takes a bit. So, like, my first one was actually Carefree and the second one was Chandler.
Oh, dang.
So the first, like, when I first met you, like, that was like market number 2.
Yeah.
And I think I made like $900 my second market. And
That's
I was just like,
wow.
Like, I don't even know what I'm selling. Like, I'm literally out there with Joey and we're like, this is cashew bark. You can put it on yogurt. You can, like, I'm just making it up as I go, you know? And then, like, my booth is like a disaster. I think I was calling it confections. Like, I just had a lot of like misinformation going on. And then one day I'm like walking around and I'm like, you know, I think I should take this slab down to my local coffee shop and see if they'll sell it. And so I go to Come and See Esplanade in Scottsdale, and I go up to this guy and I think he's the barista. And I'm like, hello, I'm Jenny. I'm the owner of Earth Sugar. This is our cookie dough super bark. I make it right upstairs in the apartment right there. Yeah. Would you sell this here? And he like breaks off a piece of it. He's like, this is so stupid the way that you just like showed this to me. He was like really blunt with me. He's like, this is stupid. He's like, but then he ate it and he was like, wait, but this actually tastes really good. He's like, you know, I got 6 of these locations. And I'm like, wait, are you the owner? He's like, yeah, I'm the owner. I'm only here for 30 minutes today. Like I just flew in from LA.
Wow,
talk
like, about timing.
Yeah. He was the owner of the chain. And he goes, you know, I'll help you out. If you turn this into a snack bar, I'll put it in all my stores. And I was like, a snack bar? I was like, yo, okay. Ran home. I'm like, Joey, we're making bars. He's like, what? And I'm like, we're making bars. And he's like, okay. So from that point, I was really able to like take my last job of like R&D and like, you know, build out a product. Cause then it's like, once you have the product, you can build it out. But like, if you don't know what you're selling, you're like, so like him just being like energy bar, snack bar, I was able to kind of like transform it all from there.
Yeah.
And then I went home on Canva, designed the packaging. I designed everything.
That's
I built
awesome,
built the logo,
Did a
designed
hell
the
of a job.
packaging, nutrition facts. I did all the shelf life testing, you know, the QR codes. I developed all the formulas, sourced all the ingredients, like just literally was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it the right way. And I think like a lot of times in business, people are always like, I need help. You know, like I have an idea. Who do I go to? I need help. And I'm just someone who's like, I have an idea. How can I do everything until I literally can't anymore?
Yeah.
Like that's like how I function. And it's like, it can be toxic, but also I think it's important for people. Like they're always so quick to delegate, but they sometimes don't know like what they're delegating. Like they don't even know what they're doing. So it's like, how can you teach somebody if you don't know what's supposed to be done like the right way?
Right.
So yeah, I just like went home and after that I figured it out and then got into Old Town, launched with all these bars and people were like, I've seen you in Whole Foods. You've been around for 7 years, right? Or like, are you going on Shark Tank? I'm like, guy, I literally just made this up a month ago in my apartment. But
I did hear about that. Once someone told me, did you know Earth Sugar? Did you know Jenny? She's going to be on Shark Tank. I was like, no,
I did apply. I sent them the video and everything, the business application. I talked to them, the casting director for a couple hours on the phone and we were totally vibing. And thank God they didn't take me because I got that call like 2 months in and I was just like, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, now if they called me, I would I would crush it.
Yeah, you would.
Call me. But yeah, back then I'm like very grateful. And like maybe one of these days I'll release the video that me and Joey made because it's so cringe. It's like, oh my gosh. Like, but you know, it's all part of the process. Like I think like in the beginning, you got to kind of shoot yourself out of the cannon because if you slow burn it too much, it's just like, nah, you know, I'll just stay at my job for a little longer and, you know, the dream starts to die. And I'm just lucky, like within a month, this was my full-time job. It's been what I've been doing since I came out here, which is crazy. And then, you know, like that's just cool.
A heck of an accomplishment.
Yeah, like I don't even need to do better than just this. If I'm just vibing, like, you know, obviously I want to grow, but like just to get to this point, it's like, I mean, it's amazing. Like, you know?
I agree.
So how many flavors you got now?
I have 8. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow. 8?
Yeah. It just keeps going. And
Dang.
well, it's cool because if I come across like a local tea company or a local farm, like the Peachy Berries, like that's been the local project we did. And then Matcha Latte, I have AZT company in there. And I do all the graphics. So honestly, if I like, sometimes if my customers like Lemon Square, I had over 100 customers ask me for that. And I was like, you know, what would make everyone's month is if I dropped a Lemon Square bar.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, let's do it. And people were like, holy shit. Like she's literally listening.
She's
like,
listening.
You know, and I have like, I think that's really cool. And just having the farmer's market where we get to see people, you know, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. A lot of my customers just come to hang out. Like at Old Town in the morning, like I've actually had to take myself out of the equation because I've stopped selling because I'm having so much fun talking. I'm just like, it's like a little group circle, like a little hen house at my booth, you know, like everyone's just vibing, talking about healthy snacks and good vibes. They're all telling me their conspiracies of the world. And I think that's really cool if like, you know, for whatever reason, like people trust me. And, you know, I love that. I've always picked up on that. And I'm like, okay, like through food, the food also is just a connector. It connects you to anybody. And I think like the brand being so fun and like in person and stuff, like it just has that energy where people find me and they're like, I want to tell you about my stomach problems. Or like, my daughter has this issue and I'm going to tell your daughter about you when I get home. And, you know, I've met people who are like from Montana and they'll come back to the market a year later holding my empty boxes and my business card.
Wow.
And they're like, I've kept this in my wallet. So we were hoping you were here this year when we visited again. And I'm like, that is like
That's
the
awesome.
coolest, you know?
So now my favorite part of the show. So I'm gonna ask you just one question. This is my favorite. So tell me your why. Why do you do what you do?
Oh, my why, honestly, it's that I'm speaking to like little Jenny all the time because she was so sad and like I had a dream and I was just like, I can't do it. I can't get there. Like I have all this going on in my life, like this health and all this stuff. And like my why is just like turning like helping me and others, like turning your pain into your purpose, like whatever that is. Like my why is like constantly, I'm always thinking about this and like always just thinking about like, you know, when I meet a girl at the farmer's market who is in time going through what I went through, and she comes up to my booth and she starts hysterically crying because she can eat everything on the table. And I'm like, that's why, like right there, because I've been that girl who, I mean, for 10 years, no one cared whether or not I ate at an event or my birthday. Like, honestly, I didn't have a birthday cake for a bunch of years. Or like if I was going on dates, like no one cared if I had proper food or, you know, I was always bringing around snacks. I was always feeling uncomfortable. I was always feeling an outsider. I felt like the grocery store was not designed for someone like me. I felt like all of the information about health was not set up for people who, and I don't even know, I wouldn't even really genuinely call it like an eating disorder because I was never, I mean, it is technically, but I wasn't doing this to be skinny. Like I wasn't like, I want to be thin. I was like, I feel so sick and I'm just trying to get better because I want to feel fantastic. And I think that people just fucking sink their fangs into people like that. And I see it all the time. I see it with the keto movement. I see it with, you know, really hardcore like fitness regimens. I see it with all these different kinds of Instagram fear mongers, like demonizing all this stuff just to sell a buck. And it's such bullshit. It makes me crazy because there's millions of people in this country who are suffering every single day. And the basic tiers of health are like, drink more water, do the things that make you happy, spend more wholesome time with your family, like get away from computer screens, like walk during the day, like just like don't eat food that's not made for human consumption. And my why is just constantly like pushing it back on people and just being like, you have to discover what you need. And like, if my product fits into your boxes, that's amazing. But if it doesn't, that's also totally amazing. And that's cool. And like, teach me your ways. Like I'm never going to be someone who's going to shit on someone's lifestyle or the way they're doing things. But if someone comes up to me and they're like, hey, I feel like crap, I'm just going to ask questions and we can like openly talk about it together. But I'm not going to be like, well, you shouldn't do this or like you blah, 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 or X this out of your life. Like, I think like my why is just teaching people like, you know, like health is happiness. It's everything. It's your lifeline. It's your lifetime. It's like, you know, how you're feeling day to day mentally. Like when you're looking in the mirror, like, are you glowing? And I feel like for me, I've gotten to that point where I have felt, you know, I have my lows obviously, but my highs are like, holy shit, like this girl can run 25 miles up a mountain, you know, I can vend 12-hour day shifts, like 40-day markets in a row, like push my dream, like speak my thoughts. And I think like, honestly, when I turned 27, I got to this point where I was like, I can no longer withhold my truth. And I can no longer withhold like fighting back against people who are doing this stuff, because I think like the world is so close to being amazing and wonderful, but we're just gatekeeping stuff from each other. And it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't, you know, health it's really kind of simple, but we just make it so hard. And it's because it's like all these big companies, they just want to sell us things, you know, they just want to sell you a new skincare. They want to inject you with something. They want to give you a pill. They want to give you this snack because it's groundbreaking or whatever. And it's like, we've all just forgotten like the basic tiers of humanism and like what keeps us going and what makes us happy and alive. And like this whole brand is just really about that. Like, it's like, and that's why I called it Earth Sugar. I was like, let's call it something where it's like a little like fun and whimsical and gets people thinking about this stuff. Like, it's like, oh, Earth Sugar, like fruits, like, you know, maple syrup, stuff that comes from trees, like, you know, organic, and being with the earth again and like connecting to food that way. And for me, that was super healing, because when you're terrified of food, it's like, it took me like 5 years to eat properly, like without like, I mean, really like just having it's like such a hard time. Like it was just horrible. Like I'd eat 2 pieces and just go into this mental cycle of like, I'm going to be sick for 3 weeks. I'm going to have to go in the hospital again. Like, what am I going to do? And so, yeah, I think that's my why is just making the world a better place, man.
That's
like,
one heck of a why. I love
Really?
it.
Yeah, no, it's really like, I just get so emotional when I think about it because I mean, there's like, I think 63 million people in the world or something like that suffer with IBS on all sliding scale from like how bad I had it to just, casual stomach aches, like whenever you eat or acid reflux and stuff. And that's like a lot of people. And there's a reason why this is happening, right? Like, it's not like we all just one day have started getting horrendous stomach aches, and maybe it is anxiety, maybe it is trauma. I think that also plays a big role. And I think it is our food. I think it's the chemicals we're consuming. It's the water. It's a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just having like honest conversations about this and bringing it into light, like without scaring people is just important, and especially like having kids or like having people to take care of and look after, like just having that information and that knowledge is cool. And it's like small steps can really, I think, change the cycle of the world and where we're kind of going,
All right. So where can our listeners find your product?
You can find our products online, loveearthsugar.com. We ship nationwide. We do all the local farmers markets out here. And then we're in a couple local stores like Monsoon Market, The Painted Tree, Common Sea, I shouted out. Oh, there's so many. Hot Yoga University. That was one of the first yoga studios that took in my bars. So nice. I love them. I gotta say, like, there are some people in the beginning who just believed in me. They were like, we know you're gonna do something. We don't know what it is yet, but we're gonna stick with you until you figure it out. And that's just been the best. But you can also follow us at Love Earth Sugar on Instagram. I do a bunch of embarrassing reels. So.
I love it. I got to tell you that, first of all, I'm very proud of you and all your accomplishments. I think you're a very inspirational entrepreneur and woman, and I want the world to know the amazing things you've done so they can feel inspired. So I'd like to thank you for coming out to our show and telling your story. And you guys give her a follow, try her bars. I mean, they are amazing. So thank you again for coming out here.
Thank you so much.